So I want to get into some of the psychological tricks or the things that actually make someone actually say yes to supporting you, to buying into your product, to buying into your vision, to supporting your campaign on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. And one of the most important things that I think we need to cover before we get into some of the actual strategies, some of the actual tactics, the things that you need to do, etc., is to understand conceptually why this happens. And I want you to sort of think of this and to use this framework. This is what I'm about to codify. Use this as a framework going forward so that when you're listening to some of the other lessons that I have out there, that you're always thinking about these concepts and the things that I'm about to tell you. So the first thing is that the only reason why you do something every single day is because you feel an emotion first. Think about that. Before you actually have a behavior, before you do something, before you extrovert, you have to first feel an emotion first. So you wake up, the only reason you get out of bed is because you hear something, you hear an alarm, you think, oh no, I'm late for work. You feel an emotion, you feel this need, this urgency to have to get to work, so you get out of bed. And you're, man, I'm hungry. I'm really thirsty, so you have a glass of water and you eat something and you're like, oh, I'm still tired. I'm feeling this weird haze, or at least I do when I wake up, so I have a cup of coffee. The only reason why you do anything in life is because you feel an emotion first, and the same thing can be said of business and the reason why people actually buy products online. People buy products because you feel an emotion and then you justify that purchasing decision with logic. So you have the emotional part of the brain and you also have the logical part of the brain, and you sort of have to talk to them differently. And by talking to them both effectively, you can get someone to buy a product, or at least to be much more likely to. And that's what I want to share with you right now. The number one emotion when it comes to getting someone to take action, the number one thing that you want someone to feel when they come to your crowdfunding campaign page, when they actually see your product, the number one thing is the emotion of urgency. Urgency is an emotion that you can feel. When you feel the emotion of urgency, you stop everything that you're doing and you focus on that one single task. You're able to persevere and do a lot of work in a little bit of time because you feel this emotion of urgency. So to give you an example from my own life, when I was in college way back when, we were assigned essays and things that we had to write. And being a good student, you'd probably have to, maybe get one paragraph done every single day, or you'd carefully plan, but of course no one actually did that. Instead, what we did was, because we needed to feel an emotion first before we took action, we would wait until literally the day before it was due to start actually writing that essay. So I would crank out like 6 pages of an essay or 8 pages the night before that essay was actually done. And the same thing is true of exams. Like, you would cram the night before because you felt this emotion of urgency that you're going to need to use this information very, very soon. So the same thing goes when it comes to crowdfunding. When someone feels like something is urgent, it's going to go from number 10 on their to-do list to number 2 or number 1, the thing that they're going to have to complete that day. If they have a bunch of stuff that's in their mind, like, oh, I have to get this done, I have to get that done, but they know that one thing is urgent, they're going to make sure they get done that thing that day. So there are some things that are sort of baked into crowdfunding that cause you to feel this sense of urgency. The first one is what is called limited quantity reward tiers. So limited quantity tiers are, what you would consider to be early bird reward tiers. Quantity, I totally spelled that wrong, sorry, quantity reward tiers. These are early bird specials. They're things that you're only going to offer to the very first backers that come to your Kickstarter campaign. They're getting a really good discount. They're getting a lot of value for not very much. And really, the early bird reward tiers are designed to create that sense of urgency that someone has to, when they come to the page and it's just been announced, that they're going to grab a copy of your product, or they're going to enroll, or whatever they're going to do. They're going to claim that reward tier because they want to gain access to that really good value and that really good discount. And because it's limited, because there are only a few of them left, there's going to be that emotion of urgency to get someone to take action. Now, the second reason why urgency is baked into crowdfunding, or the second way that it is through this concept of funding duration, also called fundraising duration. So fundraising duration. Your campaign can last for 30 days. It can last for 60 days. It can last for 45 days. I usually recommend that my students start with 30 days because it's really hard to maintain momentum more than 30 days, quite frankly. So when you have a funding duration, what it does is it says, this is only available for this particular amount of time. If you want to own one of these products, you got to get your pledge in within 30 days. Otherwise, sorry, the campaign has been funded and you no longer have access to that price. Or sorry, there weren't enough people actually who wanted this to exist in the world, therefore we're not going to make it. So fundraising duration is another thing that creates a sense of urgency. When you have a deadline for something, just with my example, like being assigned an essay, when you have a deadline, the closer and closer you get to that deadline, the more the emotion of urgency that you feel. And as a result, this is why usually with a Kickstarter campaign, you see a lot of funding in the beginning in order to claim limited quantity early bird reward tiers, and you also see a lot of funding at the end when there's only 1 day left to go, there's only a couple hours left to go. You'll see a spike in pledges because there is that feeling of urgency. Now, although this is sort of built into how crowdfunding works, you also have to do the work of communicating this urgency. So people just don't feel emotions naturally. Like sometimes you'll just feel this level of urgency because this is a 30-day campaign. But really, to get someone to heighten this emotion and feel it way more, you need to communicate this actual emotion. You need to tell people over and over again repeatedly, this campaign is going to end in the next 15 days, or we only have 5 limited quantity reward tiers left. If you want to grab one, you have to go and get it because they're really going to sell out soon. You have to communicate repeatedly to your backers if you want to enhance this emotion of urgency. And as I'll get into later in this course, you can also do this with other kind of tactics, if you will, when it comes to email marketing or social media, etc.